Long-awaited releases for big blockbuster movies have always been somewhat of a tradition in Hollywood, even back then. Whenever there's good marketing and advertising for a movie that we think or know is going to be interesting, all the audience can do is just sit back, wait, and twiddle their thumbs in appreciation for the better. One of those few movies is the latest film released for the DC Extended Universe, Justice League. The film is directed by Zack Snyder again, but it doesn't really feel like it because of the fact that Joss Whedon, the director behind the first two Avenger films, had to step in and take over for him when Zack stepped down due to his daughter committing suicide. That led to a very complicated, albeit flawed production process behind the scenes, featuring countless reshoots and reruns of multiple scenes and characters, and the addition of some other separate scenes. That also contradicts with the movie's runtime, not only because Warner Brothers had demanded the movie last no longer than 2 hours, but also because it leads to the biggest issue with the film. It feels too rushed. Most of what is shown in the film is executed to the best of its ability, but because of its runtime, there isn't enough time as there should have been to actually dissect each scene that's shown, as well as the background stories to some of the integral characters, especially the main antagonist, Steppenwolf. Not only is his backstory a major kick in the pants to his comic book counterpart, but the villain's basically nothing more but a giant CGI obstacle that just has to be overcome without any relevance of any kind, and his powers and potential weaknesses are completely ill-defined, resulting in one of the most forgettable DC movie villains to date. A good fraction of the film doesn't feel as smooth or as tonally consistent as the rest, and the parts that Joss Whedon tweaked or added weren't all that memorable than Zack Snyder's parts, to be honest. However, this is in fact another small step in the right direction for the DCEU. The acting from the main cast combined with the chemistry from its center stars is what kept me on board for the majority of the film. The way the team works around with each other is very moving and is easily one of the high points of the film whenever they have to work together. The action sequences aren't as fresh or refined as they would first appear as, but they're all good mindless fun. The film feels more light in tone than the others that came before it, and while the film feels obviously tampered with within the first 30 minutes, it gets more consistent afterwards all the way to the end. So, yeah. In the end, Justice League is not a perfect movie. Then again, no film really is. But for what it's worth, this film takes some of the aspects from other DC films that worked in the past and utilize them well enough to make this superhero team-up movie into the Justice League film that many fans were hoping to see. Oh, and just as a side note, there are 2 post-credit scenes by the end of this movie. Don't miss them. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Justice League a solid 7.